Ghosts and goblins, be prepared. Time for network special. Don't be scared. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a spooky edition of Network Special, the show that talks about appointment television, that golden era where things were just shown once or twice. When it was a TV special, you had to race home to watch it. But now, thanks to the magic of the internet, we can watch all these things whenever we want. My name is Zachariah Durr. I'm here with my co-host,
a very yawny Nathan Shear.
Oh, he's bored already. But bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the production studio is producer who?
Jeremy Demery.
Jeremy Demery. And that little rhyming couplet that I hit you with at the beginning of the episode, a little hint if you're of a certain age, which means younger than me.
Middleburg is a middle-sized town in the middle of the country. But sometimes, in my dreams, it felt like someplace else. Somehow familiar, but also very strange.
Because we're going to be talking about the Disney Channel's spooky movie of the something or other, movie of the season, I guess we can call it, called Don't Look Under the Bed, released October 9th, 1999.
Ooh, that's a lot of nines.
Too many nines. Don't turn them upside down.
Yes, this is a very this kicks off our October month, or last half of the month, I think, of Halloween specials here on Network Special.
That's right. Okay, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Good night. This aired on Disney Channel, and it was never aired again because parents were very upset at how scary this was, right?
Yeah, this got a number of complaints once it played. Wikipedia describes it as a psychological horror film, which is really painting it thick for this goofy, intermittently intense little movie starring children.
Yeah, psychological horror. That is so strong.
This is only the second Disney Channel movie to receive a TV PG rating because of its scary scenes. And even though
what was the first?
What was the first one?
Like Halloween Town or something?
Let's see. Oh, it was that Faces of Death episode that they made.
Oh, that's right.
Where they
had a Disney Plus version.
They threw people off the Sleeping Beauty's castle.
Yeah.
I don't know what the first one was. It's probably something I should have looked into, but I'll talk about why I didn't in a second.
Did it have something to do with me being a half hour late?
No. I was going to be a gentleman and not bring it up. But now that you brought it up, we can get into that a little bit. I guess they filmed this and then they kind of reshot parts of it and retooled some things to make it a little less scary, but they didn't defang it enough and the tots were spooked. And I had never seen this. In 1999, I was 19, so I didn't have the Disney Channel. So 2 strikes against me. I never saw this. I'd never heard of it. But when I was looking up Halloween specials, I saw, one of the only things pulled from the Disney Channel. We definitely have to watch this.
Yeah.
And then I watched this.
And you regretted that.
So,
you can always tell. I can always tell when I'm too old, when I would have been too old to watch something on Disney Channel based on the logo in the bottom left-hand corner.
Oh, what's the telltale for you? Because I didn't have Disney Channel growing up.
It looks like I think it's like a TV with mouse ears coming out the side of it.
So you're talking about if it's of your era, it has the TV, the old tube TV shape with the resolution lines through it, but Mickey Mouse's silhouette is on it.
I mean, if they had that watermark.
Right.
I don't remember them having the watermark, but at some point, like Fox Kids, like they all had some crazy little logo in the bottom left, and this seemed like a remnant of that time. And that was really like, I was in either a senior or up into high school or out of high school by that point.
Yeah.
That's when I can see those when I'm just clicking on random things and I always know, okay, there's a reason why I never saw this one.
Yeah, I had to fight through this, and it doesn't have anything to do with like, oh, this wasn't made when I was a kid, I don't like it. That's not a big deal for me. This is an interesting movie because, as we'll talk about, I think I love the first 10 minutes of this movie, and I think it has some charm to it. It has great ideas, and then it goes way
the credits?
downhill. No, I love the ideas that this TV movie has, and I said, I think it opens really strongly. And the guy who directed this was the man who created and directed and scripted most of The Bionic Woman, The Incredible Hulk TV show, the miniseries V, and the TV version of Alien Nation.
Yeah.
All great shows.
Yeah, this guy took a downturn on this one. Although I didn't hate this one as much as you did. I think its biggest flaw was the hour and a half runtime.
Yes. Little long. Wow.
A lot of stuff could have been cut. A lot of people could have been toned down.
I think I know. I'm looking at his filmography right now, and you can tell when the projects turn a little sour. And it's right after he directs Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay.
As the super. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Steel was that DC Comics character, the guy who like creates his own armor and he cleans up the streets.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, wow.
Now I don't know.
This is whenever they thought they were going to be able to make a movie star out of Shaq because he had played himself basically in Blue Chips. And they were like, oh, he's really charming because he's playing a goofy basketball player.
Yeah.
But kids loved Shaq, so they put him in Kazam. Or
Shazam.
They put him in Shazam, and they put him in this movie.
Wait, no. Maybe it was Kazam.
I think it is
what's
Kazam.
That movie that just came out?
I think it's Kazam. Isn't Shazam the thing that people think was a movie?
No, there was a new comic book movie starring a guy
of course.
Which one is that? Shazam or Kazam?
Well, Kazam is Shaq. Shazam has to do with I believe Captain Marvel. Yes. You see it?
Yeah, it's Kazam.
You see it?
I saw it. I see it right with my eyes.
Yes, and then in '97 they made a movie with Shaq called Steel that had our favorite person, Judd Nelson, in a supporting role. And
he's always, if he's in a movie and he's not a young 20-year-old, then you can be sure that it's bad or will be on our show.
Yeah. Looks like Steel cost $16 million and it made 1.7.
Oh, they really should have put it out more.
Oopsies. Sorry, Shaq. All right, back to don't look under the bed.
Yeah. So the premise of this movie is there's a family of, I don't know, smart people.
Smarty pants family.
Yeah. The kid's name is Darwin. The daughter, who's the main character, her name is Frances Bacon, and then whatever their last name is.
McCausland.
McCausland. The weirdest fake last name. It sounds like someone was like improvising that and fumbled over the middle of saying it. And yeah, and also the dad is Stephen Tobolowski, who is, he's a major player. He's always awesome. Usually
he's Ned the Head from Groundhog Day.
That's right.
And he co-wrote stuff with David Byrne from the Talking Heads.
Yes, he's like an amazing guy.
And if you give him any indication you want him to tell the story, he'll talk about how he came up with the name Radiohead in a story that should take about a minute to tell, but boy, he makes it take a good 20 minutes. He really makes
does
a meal out
one-man
of
show
that.
about it.
Oh boy, does he! I think this story is public domain. He's told it so much.
And yeah, so his daughter, Frances Bacon, she is kind of like what these like no nonsense, like logical people who only believe in science. They don't believe in real stuff like magic.
Well, hold on. How do you know that she thinks that?
Well, because she has a catchphrase where she says something like, "It's only logical," or something like that.
I think she literally just says that's not logical.
Yeah, there's some she says
again
constantly.
and again.
Yeah, and her son, her brother's name is Darwin. There's kind of a little bit of a backstory that they kind of play at just on the fringes, where he needed like a blood transfusion, and it's kind of like it kind of ties everything together, but I feel like it's so like loosely mentioned that it doesn't hit hard enough.
Yes, the little brother had cancer and he needed a blood marrow transfusion.
That's right, bone marrow.
Boy, does that not come into play until way later. The way,
yeah.
I'll tell you why I like how this opened up. Is do you remember the series Erie, Indiana? Mm-hmm. Which was kind of like a Twin Peaks for teens or tweens kind of thing.
I'm watching it with my daughter.
I really like that show. This movie opens and it feels like Spielberg era kind of vibes where the girl is in bed and like one of her doll's heads turns.
Yes.
And there's a creepy shadow on the wall. And then the camera turns and it's revealed that it's her mom yawning and stretching in a clever little reveal. And they go downstairs and the family is arguing because for some reason the clocks have all been set 3 hours fast. And they're all like awake at 4 a.m. and kind of arguing. And it's all done in one shot. And the family is kind of talking over each other in that way that like early Spielberg movie kids would kind of just yammer over each other with the way that real kids do.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is really well made for this low budget Disney movie. And she makes some kind of joke about how if we got a dog, it would end up on the roof. And she walks outside for school with her friend and they look up and there's a dog on the roof and then they look around the neighborhood and there's a dog on every roof.
Yeah.
And it's a cool opening.
Yeah.
And then we get to school and she starts seeing a mysterious boy around.
Now, and this boy,
Yeah.
Played by Ty Hodges, who's a fixture on, I think, some other, like a show called Even Stevens, I think, which is the Disney Channel.
Was he an Even Stevens guy? Let me see.
I think he was like a Disney Channel kind of fixture.
I mean, everyone has that. All the kids have that style to their acting for sure. Oh yeah, he was an Even Stevens.
Yeah, like all of these kids are even in. Like the girl was in Drake and Josh. And ended up being on like General Hospital and Young and the Restless and all that stuff. But very much just who's on the studio parking lot right now? Can we get them in this?
Ty, get over here.
Yeah.
Put these Oakleys on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Put these fangs in. And so she starts seeing this boy and then also we should know that everyone in the town is all suffering from the same kinds of stuff. Like everyone has their clock set back. Everyone's got a dog. Their dog is on their roof. And we're finding out that it seems like someone's setting pranks all across the city of Middleburg. We're finding out that all the signs are pointing to that it's her that's actually doing them. Like someone is framing her for this.
In a way that I don't think made any sense, except the script needs it to be that way.
Yeah.
The only thing that points to it being her is that there are bees spray painted on all the lockers except for her locker, but she does have one. It's in her locker.
Yeah.
So,
But
why would that mean that
but
it was
also,
her?
They slowly build a case. Like the mom mentions in the morning that there's no eggs in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then there's a million eggs dropped on the biology teacher's car.
Yeah.
And that there's a nod to all these little pieces until eventually it's like there's no way you could, if you didn't know about the magical element of this movie, then there's no way you could think it's not her.
I'm going to say, unless you thought there was a magical element to the movie, there would be no way you could think it was her. How would this 14-year-old girl throw dogs on every roof in the street?
Yes, obviously the pranks are on. There's no way she could have done them. But someone does say they're saying that her older brother says they're saying that she's the ringleader or something. So they're trying to make the case that she is leading a bunch of people and they're doing pranks everywhere.
Yes, this very obedient, nerdy girl who has skipped forward a grade and has never done anything wrong and is accounted for at all times has been masterminding this vandalism.
Yeah. I wish the parents would have used some logic.
I expect a touch of logic in terms of how these kind of things are built.
But instead, the dad's like, our kid is doing crazy things. We need to stop her from doing these crazy things. And the mom's like, I don't know. Give her some time. I think she needs to just kind of sit back. And then someone dies. And he's like, I don't know. She's murdering people now. And the mom's like, maybe just give her a break. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Wait,
like
who
so.
dies?
No one died. I'm making up. It's like what I'm saying is like he's trying so hard to like fix this issue, and the mom's like,
yes,
I don't know. Was she like a psychiatrist or something?
Yeah, they're both. Yes,
he's a solid waste engineer.
They're both smart people, which means they're dorks. And this is a classic Disney Channel movie where it's the mom is an angel and the dad is a buffoon. The father also enjoys cleaning and wears an apron, if you can imagine such an emasculating thing.
Well, his career is like literally shoveling shit. He's a solid waste engineer. That's what they call it.
But yeah, that's not the reason why this was driving me so crazy. It was a reason, but the main reason why this movie was driving me so crazy is when we switch our attention from the interpersonal play of this girl and her family and her friends to Eric Ty Hodges playing Larry Houdini, a boy who only she can see.
Yes.
And boy, does this movie drag out a conceit that I have hated since I was old enough to start watching movies, which is this boy is invisible to everyone. He can get in people's faces and scream at them and throw their food around. And people
steal their food.
Yes, people don't see anything. But for most of the runtime of this movie, this girl is going, I don't believe it. Magic, it doesn't exist. And this guy's like walking on the ceiling and she goes, nah, give me something else. And poor Ty Hodges, who I don't think is a bad actor. I think he is given terrible material and has been directed horribly because I could tell that they thought that this character was going to be lovable and wacky. But it's a real bad sign when you're watching a movie with a character that's supposed to be funny and you're questioning if this line he's saying is supposed to be a joke.
Oh, it's like he's almost doing like a kind of a Robin Williams kind of thing where just everything feels kind of like it's pre-associated, but it's absolutely scripted.
If Robin had no punchlines and was just kind of saying everything that he looked at.
Yes. Well, to be fair, that's like
what he did.
50%. Yeah. I mean, come on. But yeah, so he's like, he'll appear in a costume in one thing to do a joke about being a cowboy or something, and then he'll switch, and now he's in a tuxedo, and now he's a waiter. I don't know, like he's just like, he's just doing that thing where he's just bouncing around.
Yeah, it gets into Drop Dead Fred territory pretty quick. Is it?
Yeah, but see, this is what I mean. Like, there's a whole chunk of this movie. If you say like he shows up, and then she's like, she doesn't believe it, and then like a scene later, he convinces her to believe it.
Yes,
and then if you cut to,
more crazy
later
stuff
on,
happening without him.
Yeah, you cut to that. Then we're in like this is fine, because then when all the cool stuff starts happening, like at the end, which I think there's cool stuff happening and cool ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like you shrink this movie down. This is a no holds barred bona fide classic, right?
I agree, because I was watching this going, oh, there is a really good movie here. They're just screwing it up, because I'm wondering if a lot of this stuff was also reshoots and music that they were piping in to make it seem less scary and more kid friendly. Because he's like, he's doing bits constantly. The bits aren't good. That's a problem. But there's also kind of the Beetlejuice factor, where when you think, like, Beetlejuice is a character where that kind of stuff works. But when you think about the movie Beetlejuice as a character is not in it as much as people remember him being in it. He's actually not in it that much, really, because a little bit of Beetlejuice goes a long way. That's why for this, if they're making this sequel, and it's going to be a whole lot of Beetlejuice, I think it's going to be too much Beetlejuice. And it's going to start getting into Larry Houdini territory.
What did you think about the Beetlejuice cartoon?
I thought it was weird that they made him Lydia's friend.
Yes, that's weird. Obviously, it's a weird change. But I mean, was it too much Beetlejuice then?
I didn't love that. No, I didn't like it because I didn't like that kind of. I just don't like this kind of wacky friend character as a rule. So, unfortunately, no.
Right.
He was a Larry Houdini to me.
Yeah. So then it turns out that also kids can see him.
Little kids can see Larry Houdini. Yes, they can, because they go to the library and all little kids see him.
Yeah. So, okay. I feel like there's not tons of stuff that happens in him. Like at some point, at one point, you start to see little glimpses of like a really scary figure. And like you'll see kind of like creepy hands appear or shadows. And then it leads up into the newest prank from whoever's doing these pranks and making it out to be her. It's he puts like Clark Griswold style Christmas lighting on the house.
Right.
And this causes a city outage of electricity.
Except for their house.
Except for their house.
Which has the Christmas lights, yes.
And this is where we first see this character, which turns out to be the Boogeyman.
Right.
And this sets off basically the whole reason why Larry Houdini has showed up in town to her and everything. So they find this book in the library with kind of a funny joke. Like he says he has these voices in his head. And he finds this book at the library written by N. his head, and it's like talking about how to take down the boogeyman. Mm-hmm. And they have to make this boogie goo or something. I don't know,
they say the words boogie goo a lot in a way that I didn't care for. We should also say that the boogeyman begins to get into the territory of why this movie was considered too scary, because the makeup on the boogeyman is pretty intense. It's a very Freddy Krueger-ish.
Yeah, he's got quills on his face, like little like weird like whiskers like poking out of random parts of his face.
Yeah, he's got like Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampire kind of like Freddy Krueger burn victim and pointy teeth.
Yeah.
Big long nails, scary stuff.
and still though I'm not convinced that this is that scary, right?
No. And I guess they rewrote all of his lines to be limericks.
Yeah, and yeah, because he originally the concept art had him like having like quills on his back, like he was a porcupine kind of a guy. And then they were like, no, let's make him, lighten him up a little bit. He's a dandy fop.
He does have an Alan Cumming kind of way.
Yeah, they made him like Victorian, actually, Victorian looking, and he speaks in limericks. And so there's this angle of, for some reason, the Larry Houdini starts to kind of take on some of the traits of the boogeyman, like scary eyes and scary teeth whenever he gets angry. And he's slowly kind of morphing throughout the rest of the show into this character. And so it's at some point it's revealed that Larry Houdini was actually the imaginary friend of Darwin, her brother. And what happened is he doesn't see him anymore because his sister told him to give up these old things, grow up, no more imaginary friends, there's no such thing. So now Larry is no longer being believed. And what is revealed at that point is that basically when your imaginary friend, like when your real person, if you were an imaginary friend, when the real person stops believing in you before their time, like they grow older or something, then they turn into a boogeyman.
Yes, they turn into a nightmare person.
Yeah. And so that's where the boogeyman comes from. It comes from you stopping believing in your imaginary friend too early.
Right. What?
And so, go on.
Well, fill me in here, because this is where the level of acting to the ceiling was driving me crazy, and I kind of stopped being able to totally pay attention. Mm-hmm. What is that? What is the massive machine that Larry is building? Is it a boogeyman catcher or something?
It's called like a. It is. I can't even think of the name, but it's something like a temperature or something like that.
The tetrafuse. I'm looking at the
article. It's tetrafuse. Yeah. Okay. So he finds in this book that he has to make the boogie goo to attract the boogeyman, and Darwin steps in the boogie goo, and then the boogeyman kind of steals him, and so they build this tetrafuse to that. It's kind of like almost like an electric battery or something. He has like the two, the red and the black wire, and he, at one point he tries to put it on the boogeyman and turn it on, and it doesn't fully work the way that the book says it will, So because there's a reason why.
I'm getting bored listening to you talk about it.
Yeah.
This is so boring in the movie.
So in the original script, that's how they kill him, is using this machine.
Is it really?
So in the original script, Larry Houdini and Francis Bacon together put the things on him and kill the boogeyman.
Oh my God!
That's how they defeat him.
Wow!
But they changed it. They wanted it to just be her, and they wanted it to come from like the hero to come from within. So so how the boogeyman is defeated is basically, we find out that the boogeyman was Francis Bacon's...
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're leaving out the part that they are shrunk down, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style.
I mean, yeah.
And they go into
it out, but...
Well, no, that's the end. That's the very end of the movie. They go into a magical portal, which is underneath your bed, which is a bizarre floating rock that contains, I guess, everything that you lost under your bed, but also it's the home of the boogeyman.
It's like a magical world but it's also like you just got shrunk down, because there's like big, huge toys and like crumbs from food and sandwiches. Yeah. And
Darwin is tied in a sock by the boogeyman, who has lured them down there, I guess, to trap them.
Well,
what's the boogeyman's end game? Is it to murder?
Well, he's gonna throw him over the cliff.
But what's his end game for Francis Bacon?
Well, he wants Francis to get in trouble so he's doing all those pranks so that she gets in trouble, like as revenge.
Okay, is that stated?
I mean, that's what's happening. That's literally what's happening. because he's the one doing all the pranks.
Okay, so the Boogeyman's end game is like a big gremlin, but it's to get you in trouble for things.
Like I don't think that the story goes beyond like into his ultimate game. All we know is that he's kidnapping Darwin and he's going to throw him over a cliff, and he's really messing up the life of Frances. That's what we know. Like he's making lose all of his friends, all of her friends,
right?
All the stuff's happening.
That needed a lot of clarification, or something needed to happen something got rewritten. You have to know what a character's goal is, even if it's the simplest thing. And the Boogeyman doing all this stuff.
Well, okay, but we do know what his goal is, because what I was just about to tell you, or the reason, his motivation. His motivation is revenge.
Yes, I guess.
We don't know what he's going to do 100%, but we know it's revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we know that is because it's revealed that Francis Bacon's imaginary friend is this current Boogeyman who's out to get everyone.
Right. The Boogeyman that is haranguing her is her old imaginary friend that she had rejected. And it is revealed in a very bizarre way where she hooks jumper cables on. Oh, there's this torturous scene
from the machine.
Yes, the jumper cables on the Boogeyman's fingernails. Then the Boogeyman's face turns into her dead grandmother.
No.
Who is the old woman?
Okay. The Boogeyman is actually her former imaginary friend who was a girl. Okay,
right.
So when she stopped believing in her, she turned into the Boogeyman, or boogie person, as she keeps saying, right? So when they put that rig on her, she says, "I'm aging," and she turns into the old lady version of the imaginary friend.
Why does she say I can't remember how to drive when she's an old woman?
I don't know about any of that stuff.
Well, they also reference her grandmother who died of cancer. I thought it was supposed to be a flashback to her grandmother, because the reason why she's rejected all this stuff has to do with the fact that she feels guilty about not being a bone marrow transplant to her little brother, and instead her brother was a bone marrow transplant.
Her other brother.
Yes, her other brother. So a tossed away linchpin to this plot for a children's movie is guilt over her little brother's near miss with fatal cancer.
You know what's funny? This actually spoke to me a little bit.
Okay.
Because at one point, my brother and I kind of were feeling a little bit pressure, just a little bit, from our family about maybe giving my mom a kidney.
Okay.
So this that took me there. So
Sure.
I knew what she was feeling.
Right. How do you feel about it being used in a movie for a 9-year-old?
I know. I wasn't. Well, I would say 13 and up. But yeah.
Oh, a 13-year-old's not going to watch this movie.
Oh, yes, that's the perfect range.
You think so? This seems too young.
Early teen.
Okay.
Early teen.
This seems like a 9 to 13-year-old level movie to me.
This is a I would say maybe a 9 to a 14-year-old who is not ready to give it up yet.
Well, sure. I mean, we can go with that forever.
But I'm saying 13 is the perfect range.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Okay, maybe it is her grandma. My understanding or my thought was, this is what happens to boogeymen when they get this machine on them. It ages them until they dust away. And so this was just the girl who was her imaginary friend. She turned into the boogeyman and then was now being aged up to an old lady.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You took away something so different. I thought that they were reversing the boogeyman from a ghoul back into a human. So part of what
I thought too.
Right. But you're saying
But
that's
then-
not it because the machine unplugs and then she turns her back into her imaginary friend with the power of love.
With the power of I believe. I believe
believing.
now. Yeah. And that's what also fixes Larry Houdini, who, by the way, Larry has turned into a full-on boogeyman.
Right.
During this, and it becomes part of the conflict. But then once she believes and all that, and she convinces her brother to believe in Larry again, that fixes Larry, and that fixes the boogeyman.
And Larry,
back into her friend.
in boogeyman form, is the really scary
the
part.
really freaking scary
yes.
one.
He
looks like the Beetlejuice snake.
Yeah, I mean he looks like something out of Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Yes.
It's very intense makeup, and it's also I think the fact that if you're a little kid, this goofy character from Even Stevens is now turning into a demon.
Yes, yes.
That's what would really scare children.
So okay, I have a theory about the parents thing, but also let's get to the end and then I'll bring because yes, I do think that like the dolls I think are scary because dolls are always scary, but
You're talking about the dolls
enough,
who turn their heads in her room, who come to life.
Yeah, and they don't come to life except they just turn their head. I feel like,
But that's scary.
If the dolls were like moving and talking or whatever, like then I'd be like, oh, why was this even aired? But no, it's really his face. Okay, but then it basically cuts to the end. Everyone's kind of back in the house. The dad realizes they find out that he reads on internet news that it's that
A phrase
this is
that's
happening
used in
all
this
over
movie.
the city, all over the state or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's not her. So anyway, she goes outside. She sees her old imaginary friend and Larry Houdini, and they're saying we need to go off to the rest of the cities to help out the boogeymen's there, the boogie people. And this is where it just a weird kind of thing happens. She says like, well, I'll see you guys when you're done. And they're like, no, we're not going to see you anymore. You're older now. You're to that age where you should not believe in this stuff anymore. And she gets upset. And then the way to convince her is Larry Houdini kisses her on the lips, like a sultry kiss.
There has been
And-
no romantic tension before with the two of them, by the way.
There's no reason to believe that
Not a
they're
will
going to
they,
start
won't
dating.
they. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she has this kind of like Twitter painted look. And he's like, I guess this was just no, not now you'll know what it's like to feel grown up. But she kind of feels like, oh, I guess I am grown up or something, she says. So, okay. This is where it gets funny.
The lesson of the movie is
Yeah.
that you have to believe in your imaginary friend, because if you don't believe in your imaginary friend, they'll turn into a boogeyman and they'll harangue you and they'll pull pranks on you and they'll destroy your life. But at some point, you need to stop believing in your imaginary friend because you're a grown-up.
Yeah. So that's why I kept limiting that to it turns into a boogeyman if you believe when you are still of age that you're supposed to believe.
She's 14.
I know. By the way, she was 20 when she filmed this.
No, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So remember, I don't know if we mentioned, but Ty Hodges is a black person in real life and in the show. And they kiss in the end. And Disney gets the final cut of the movie. And one of their notes back is maybe they don't kiss because we don't want to upset our Southern gentleman affiliates.
Basically, yes. They got nervous because of an interracial kiss, which is real cool of you, Disney, in
And
1999.
Yeah, and
Never
the guy writes
change.
back or says back like, I think we're at the tail end of this 20th century. I think this is okay. And then Disney says back, yeah, you're right. We should never even said anything. They had egg on their face. But I mean, think about how much power 4 states in this country wield. It's like they control
Or the southern part of every state.
right. But Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, these 5 states or whatever. There's others, but Like these states are like it controls the discourse in all of America. It's insane how much power there is down here.
Yeah.
Anyways, so thankfully they kept it in. Now, okay, so that leads to my theory. I don't fully buy that parents were writing in en masse because they thought it was that scary. I think maybe they said it was scary, but I think Disney may have been right, and then some of them might have been Southern people writing in saying, "Oh, this is too scary," but really they were referring to an interracial kiss instead.
I mean, I'm sure that there was a couple people who wrote in about that. The director said that they kept going back and forth about the tone.
Yeah,
and he said that they got mail about the intensity of the movie.
Yeah, it just feels like it wasn't. I don't know. I guess I'm just looking at it through adult eyes, but I guess if you watch as a whole, like it's not scary enough. But then if you walked into your room, your kid's room during the scene where Larry's turned fully into a boogeyman, you might be like, "Is this HBO?"
Yeah, I mean, this was on at
Tales from the Crypt.
This is on at like 7:30 when, really little kids. And it's, I think in 99, it was the last bastion of like, if it's Disney, it is for everyone. It is for little babies and it's for grandma.
Yeah. Oh, the other one was Tower of Terror, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think that was the other scary movie they made, and then they kind of took a step back from it. I mean, they made Halloween Towns and Mr. Boogedy and all that, or Mr. Boogedy and Nickelodeon. I can't remember.
By the way, I mean, and I did not want to go into it, but we are leaving out big scenes, endless scenes at the library, in the garage, when Larry Houdini turns into the mad scientist from Frankenstein. We're leaving out when the school psychologist
that scene.
goes in and they make a weird soup out of socks.
Yeah, that's the goo. That's the boogie goo.
That's of course the boogie goo, and there's a lot of discussion about getting boogie goo on yourself.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I wanted to review this from my perfect movie cut.
I think that this is a movie that somebody should go in and redo, because I think there's great ideas to it. I think it could be a great movie for kids. This is just kind of a mess.
There needs to be like a Houdini cut uploaded to My Spleen or something. Yeah, but it's on Disney Plus. So it is back in the rotation. Disney even
now it's in the Tales of Minorities section of Disney Plus.
Yeah, and Disney even like posts like on YouTube like 20th anniversary of don't look under the bed, and it's a clip from the movie and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's worth watching because I think it's fun to see. Yes, I like the idea of it. And I also think that if you have a kid who's in the age range and you're looking for something scary to watch, I think definitely then it's worth it to take a look.
I think there's literally a million movies out there you can watch with your child that don't feature inane acting and crap.
Yes, of course there is.
Well, then don't watch this one. It's a giant waste of time. The middle is endless. It is endless. I had to break this into 3 viewings because I couldn't take it.
Do you know how much time kids have?
I know. That's why you have to make sure you fill it with stuff that isn't crappy pablum.
Yeah. Well, I'll wait. Just wait for the Houdini cut.
Is that the one where you're going to go in and you're going to take all of Houdini out of it? What are you going to do with the Houdini cut?
No, I'm calling it the Houdini cut. It's a magical cut.
Oh.
And I'm just going to go in. I'm going to make about, I don't know, 40 minutes of it disappear. Very easily. Yeah. So that's that. You can
very
tell,
scary.
so our October session started off with a bang and a big fat thud. Remember to like and subscribe. Go to YouTube. Go to, look on look in the Yahoo pages and see if you can find our page in the podcast page of Yahoo.
Although if you're listening to this now, you probably have figured out a way to hear our podcast. I don't think you have to guide people to it.
No. I want to make sure they know. The case if you're listening on iTunes and you want to rate it on Spotify, they should know that they can do that. Yeah, give us some reviews, subscribe.
Yeah, it's a wonderful universe out
and
there.
And turn back in and also tune in next week for more Halloween fun.
Yes, and never, if you had an imaginary friend as a child, start believing them in them again, because if you don't,
unless you're 14,
they're a hideous demon. Unless they have given you their consent for you to stop believing in them.
Yeah, that's right. It's the consent age.
This is a good movie
Right now.
about consent.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.